Who remembers blogs, playlists, so many features and collabs that you literally didn't know whose song you were listening to at any given time? Artists would land on SoundCloud playlist and the next morning, their lives changed. They had millions of plays overnight. People were following them on Instagram the next morning, and before you know it, they deleted all their posts. What's up? My name's Alex Majewski. I also go by J-Sky, and in this video, I'm gonna be talking about emo rap. Emo rap's like the cool older sister I never had. Smoking weed, getting tattoos, hanging out with friends that your mom and your parents wouldn't approve of. For me, that was my mom. She was 22 when she had me, struggled with drug addiction, depression, mental illness. During that time, there wasn't anyone really addressing what it was like to live on a daily basis like that. The music industry and everyone around it created such a facade to mask the negative culture surrounding so much of the business that lined their pockets with millions of dollars. Household names like Calvin Harris, Avicii. It was only a matter of time before a genre like emo rap came crashing in. It was new, alternative, rap in ways, but more of a melodic hybrid. It had face tattoos, was overly honest about its hardships, loneliness, and drug addiction. It spoke the truth and made it okay to show and express how so many of us actually felt on the inside. Makeshift sloppy beats with clean or distorted guitars. Emo rap artists were not perfect and they were not claiming to be. Artists like Lil Peep and XXXTentacion uploaded their first couple singles to SoundCloud and the numbers spoke volumes. Emo rap was here to stay. If you landed on the right blog or playlist on SoundCloud, that could literally change your life overnight. People were going viral every single day on Instagram. We were discovering new artists on SoundCloud, and it was crazy. You had huge YouTube channels coming out of the woodworks like Adam22's No Jumper. He interviewed Lil Peep early on, XXXTentacion, and he was really onto something as far as just innovating YouTube to a place that was just like street culture, BMX riding, emo rap, SoundCloud rap, mumble rap, everything that was going on at the time. He was on the pulse of it and crushing it. Growing up, I bounced between my obsession with rap and rock, more specifically pop punk bands and some metal ones. All through high school, rap was heavily taking the lead and pushing rock more and more towards the sidelines. In the 2010s, really between 2012 and 14, music was in a weird place. EDM and SoundCloud rap ruled the charts. Artists like Calvin Harris, David Guetta, and DJ Tiesto with songs like How Deep Is Your Love. The whole vibe was like, let's run away, do drugs, and then after we run red lights, get arrested, have unprotected sex, return to regular life with zero to no consequences at all. Who's in? A few years earlier, everybody wanted to have some kind of rock in their records, heavy guitars. You had Katy Perry with One of the Boys, Pink with Just Like a Pill, Kelly Clarkson, Since You've Been Gone. I really call it the Dr. Luke effect. Even artists like Kanye West and B.O.B. with Erase Me were making rock records. So Dr. Luke was a session guitar player for SNL for like 10 years. You never noticed him, but he was there every single Saturday night. He started DJing in nightclubs in the city, making remixes, and he became buddies with Max Martin, who's like the biggest hitmaker of all time. Britany Spears, Backstreet Boys, NSYNC. And they started working together and were crafting hits. The difference is, once Dr. Luke came to the scene, he was putting rock guitars on everything. At this time, even rap was in a weird place. A genre that used to honor storytelling and lyrical integrity started to change shape, and just like that, mumble rap was born. More about a feeling, a movement, a vibe. Hypebeast fashion, DIY production started to change the underground music scene. Accessibility to make affordable music, beats, recordings with a cheap interface gave anyone with $1,200 and a little creativity the key to the city. You would start to see SoundCloud as a melting pot of unique misfits, rebelling against mainstream society. What changed was accessibility to make affordable music, beats, tracks, recordings. All you would need is an interface, cheap microphone, and a laptop. If you had $1,200 and a little bit of creativity, you were on your way to being a SoundCloud rapper. People were making dope ideas, hanging out with their friends, smoking, getting fucked up all night, posting rough demos to the internet, and they were just doing well organically. It was a time like no one had ever seen before. Labels were freaking out. You had artists that had no budget, that you never heard of before, who maybe never even played a show, never played an instrument, anything like that, collaborating, getting beats from the internet, making beats on Logic, uploading them, and boom, just like that, they were emo rappers. They were internet famous. Mainstream pop glorified drugs and depression, but like in a fancy way. Everyone and their friends spent thousands of dollars going to big festivals like EDC. I would say the top 3 emo rappers would be Lil Peep, XXXTentacion, and Juice Wrld. These aren't just the first people to pop off, I would say the most innovative. You have Lil Peep, who was definitely from more of like a dark pop punk, emo vibe. You have XX, who came from Florida. He had like a real aggressive, ratchet nature about him. And I would say he was heavily influenced by metal in the way he would scream and distort his vocals, but he had a kind of a big, small way about him, explosive and emotional. So he would go showing characteristics of someone that's really kind of on a lighter, sensitive side to someone that's overly emotional and exploding and being very fierce and in your face. I do think that was what was so captivating about X, is that it was just a mystery. You didn't know what side you were gonna get from him. He was very passionate about his views, but then he also had a little bit of kind of like a contradicting nature to him. He was extremely young, and I do think he was struggling and working through a lot of issues. It's unfortunate that him and so many of these artists weren't able to continue making music and live their lives. You had artists like Juice Wrld, who I would say would be like the Fall Out Boy, Chicago, Midwest version of emo rap. You had the OG emo rappers like Lil Peep, members of Goth Boi Clique like Lil Tracy, Nadarb, who produced Beamer Boy. Later you see him collab with bigger emo rappers out now like Lil Lotus and If I Die First. That's a metalcore band who I'm a huge fan of, as you could see in the shirt. You had XXXTentacion infusing metal. Other acts that would do things like that would be Bones or the Suicide Boys. Some other artists who weren't as influential but dope artists with awesome beats and songs would be like Lil Xan, Trippie Redd, Young Lean, Lil Uzi Vert, who has like a gazillion features. Then I would have what I would call the pandemic rappers: Guardian, Break-Ins, 93 Feet of Smoke, Lil Lotus, Little Aaron, Smart Death. Some of these artists definitely didn't start making music and putting out stuff during the pandemic, but this is a time where like a lot more people found them. Their videos started to explode. A lot of people spent so much time at home that it gave a lot of YouTube channels, a lot of SoundCloud rappers, just artists in general, an opportunity to like really pop off. Even Nothing Nowhere, for example. Like I've been listening to him since like 2014. During the pandemics where a lot of artists found mainstream success, I actually had the opportunity to collaborate with bigger producers and drummers like Travis Barker. After a couple decades of pushing everything aside when it came to depression or dark lifestyles, drug addiction, unaliving yourself, we had a genre that was kind of putting it out there is the norm. I'm not saying they went about it in the best way, because they didn't. They were struggling. They were in our faces. People were bringing new styles and trends to the forefront and kind of creating a community in front of us. It wasn't about violence. If anything, it was about them hurting themselves, but they were creating a community, and it did bring awareness to all of these different things. I see why emo rap had such a big impact when it did. We had the 2014s, and it was just getting really washed out, really bland. There was just so much club culture. Everything just felt so generic and so auto-tuned, and everything was just like it was do. EDM is pretty much the package that you would set up for your parents if you want to go to school, do drugs, and have your parents pay for it. Emo rappers had face tats. They were mixing genres and clothing and the way they were expressing themselves. It was like the new wave of punk, not because they were being political, but because they were living in big warehouses in New York and LA. They were all just creating a community, making music together. Some of these people were even collaborating with people in other countries. You had Lil Peep working with like dudes in Russia, and it was just a brand new community. It was creating one of the most important things that I believe came from emo rap is bringing awareness to depression, drug abuse, mental illness, and a couple other things that YouTube doesn't really like you to say. It's okay to not be okay. That's really the theme here. It's okay to be different. It's okay to wear different clothes, get tattoos, color your hair, have no money, and make your dreams come true. What's important is that if you need help, you find friends, seek out the help that you need, because there are people and there are resources to do so. So growing up, I was really influenced by hip hop and rock. I like punk, I like some metal, I like certain hip hop acts. And when I started to get completely sick of this fucking bland, washed out shit with the EDM, I was so sick of Calvin Harris, Avicii. I've been to EDC, I've been to all of these fucking festivals. It's just like a never ending it just sucks. Like, it's glorified bullshit. And all of a sudden you would have these like tracks, like I hadn't heard anything fresh and new, and I would get something a little nostalgic from like a Peep record, and you would hear kind of like a Blink guitar, but you would hear trap drums, but they were kind of like quirky and distorted keyboards and big sub 808s. It was just like 808s on steroids, but emo, but rap, but metal, but rock. And it was just everything a lot of people needed at once. It was addressing things that had never been said before. It was doing things that hadn't been seen before. And it was doing it on like a DIY level. That's what's really punk about it. People were using camcorders, people were recording, editing the videos themselves. They were doing it and they were getting full recognition for it. They weren't saying, hey, your mix isn't good. They weren't being bougie about it. It kind of took things from 100, where you had EDM, you had Taylor Swift of the world spending $1 gazillion to fill out these, not even arenas, they're like fucking fields and football stadiums filled with people that are literally on so much Molly and so much stuff. And it's really just about the way that experience made them feel. And when they listen to the music, it's not really like they love the music. They're like, they're so good. Most of these DJs aren't even spinning live. They're just there kind of entertaining. And now you have emo rappers talking about like their heart on their sleeves. They're talking about everything, broken childhoods, drugs, expressing their relationship issues, and they're just being real, they're being authentic. And that is just something I'll probably talk about in a ton of videos. That authenticity and being real is something that always stands the test of time. You've seen it with Kurt Cobain and Nirvana, you've seen it with Lil Peep and X, and whether they have traits that are fucked up, traits that are honest, traits that make them a great person, it's something that just resonates with people because people are fucked up. I'm a huge fan of emo rap. Unfortunately, I think the genre was stunted and didn't get to see its full potential, and we probably would have had a lot more music if the pioneers, Lil Peep, X, and Juice WRLD didn't pass so early. It was definitely a loss to music, to culture, to the world. They influenced me a ton, and I believe if the biggest emo rappers didn't pass on so early, perhaps that genre would have evolved even more before we shifted into pop punk. Pop punk has had a huge wave, and that might have been kind of pushed back a few more years. I believe it would have happened anyway, but I don't think it would have happened within like 2.5 years from the time Lil Peep kind of popped off. Maybe even less than that. It was like 3 years, and then all of a sudden, poof. Usually genres have kind of like a 5-year span. Yeah, so my name's Alex Majewski, also go by J Sky. You could follow me on Instagram. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm new to this. You guys are growing with me. I appreciate all the support, everyone tuning in to check out these videos. If I forgot any artists, which I know I didn't talk about everybody, there's a ton that I love, leave them in the comments. Maybe I'll make another video addressing a specific topic if you have any ideas. Thank you once again for tuning in. I appreciate it, and have a good day. Peace.